All right, well, this is Aaron Squire coming to you guys again this week. We've got episode 70, Independence. What am I calling this? Try Independence. Yeah, Try Independence. You know, 3 colors on our flag. We're going to do a 3-shard deck type of thing. Tonight, I got Armies of Mordor joining me again. We're going to be talking about the shutdown of Reddit, some server maintenance that happened earlier in the week, the release celebration that's happening next week, and then we're going to build an Independence Day deck. So that's a red, white, and blue, or a ruby, sapphire, and diamond deck. So it should be a pretty good night. Armies of Mordor, how are things with you? I mean, I watched Transformers 4 this week. It wasn't that good to me. How did you do? How did you shake out this week?
Same old, same old. I had a fairly good draft, but I got knocked out in round 2.
Actually, I had my second win I had my second draft win of the season this week. So I mean, I guess it was pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good all around for me. So with Try Humans, of all things.
Try Humans is pretty good.
They're pretty good when you get the Try Humans, but like, yeah. And you don't have to play against orcs. So, all right, let's start in on the news here. Let's flip over to the show screen here. So, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Reddit was having some issues today, and likely everything's going to go back to normal soon, but apparently what happened was Victoria Taylor was fired for some reason, which we're not sure. It may have had something to do with an AMA, which is like an Ask Me Anything, with Jesse Jackson, like last week or something like that, where there was a bunch of like risque things that went on, I guess, or something. I don't know. It doesn't make that much of a difference to me, but apparently she was a big deal for all the Ask Me Anything posts. I mean, they've had Obama on there and then some other stuff. But in response, a lot of the forum moderators, not our forum, not the Hex forum, because we're not that big and people don't care about us that much, but they shut themselves off. They basically made it so like you had to be subscribed already to go to their forum, otherwise it was going to just block you. And if you wanted to subscribe after the fact, then you would have to be like okayed by the moderators. So I guess they're showing solidarity for that. So I mean, Reddit is what Reddit is. I'm sad to see something like this happen, and hopefully they'll figure it out and we won't lose this type of forum. I think it's a great forum still, because it's you have your forum moderators, but like for the most part the community just kind of deals with trolls and stuff by themselves. But they also added on some like trolling policies and some other stuff that I thought was kind of silly. But Armies of Mordor, how has this affected your life?
Reddit has gotten a lot more boring when I can't browse some of my favorite subreddits.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know if there's very much else for us to really talk about. We're not obviously going to be joining this, you know, privatizing our subreddit. I am one of the forum moderators for the Hex Reddit, but yeah, it doesn't really affect us that much. I just hope that everything goes back to normal soon and that things kind of shake out and work themselves out with this. Moving on, we had some server maintenance earlier this week. It was on Tuesday. So that's really the only important things I drew from it. Like basically they shut the tournaments down, they locked them, and then the servers come down and all that stuff. But the important part again to me is like Tuesday. It happened on Tuesday, which tells me that Hex is getting closer to being a real online game that has regular scheduled things. Like Patch Tuesday is a big thing both with Microsoft and a lot of other MMOs that are out there. So I think it's a positive step forward and just a sign that they're maturing as a company and being able to get to a place where they'll be able to bring us the best content possible. Armies, what do you, anything else to add to that really? Probably not.
Not really.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect there's very much to say there. There was downtime. But what we really want to talk about is the Armies of Release celebration. Armies Release celebration? It's like they used your name for everything. You should have really copyrighted that.
I know. I always, every time I'm in a stream, and people are like, "You're so excited for Armies of Myth." It's like, if I only am tweeting
Armies
out and I hear
of Myth.
Armies of, and then like the sound M is like someone talking to me.
So you're going to be able to get these two cards, the Brightwood Brave and the Duplicitous Duke. I think we've talked about Duplicitous Duke, but we haven't talked about Bright Moon Brave. Bright Moon Brave is a 1-cost, 1-diamond threshold, 1/1 troop with Prophecy. When it enters play, the next troop in your deck gets a +1/+1. I think it's going to be great for those mono diamond. I think I have talked about this guy before. Mono diamond decks where it is that you're just going to want to have like tiny dudes type of deck. Armies, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, it's a reasonable card. It might see play in the mono diamond deck, maybe, but it's depends how many women.
Mono diamond little dudes.
Because Valiant Escort is definitely good.
Duplicitous Duke is a 4 with double ruby threshold. It's a 2/2, and it says at the start of your combat phase, it has to attack, and then you create a copy of it, put it into play. It gets speed, and when it combat ends, void this. So basically it creates a copy of itself, and then that copy voids itself at the end of the attack. But both of them have to attack, right? I mean, that's what I'm reading.
Well, the first time you play it, he doesn't have speed himself. So like if you play him on turn 4, only his copy will have to attack. The next turn, if he still has that ability and you haven't shifted it to something else, then yes, he'll have to attack.
Right. So, and then of course you can shift it off to another troop like we were just talking about. Also, if you happen to be running the Diamond Champion, you could revert this guy and then shift it again. So, I mean, you could actually make something have 2 copies of itself, right? Like you could, you know what I'm saying? You could shift the ability twice.
Shift this to ability, revert the Duke, and then shift
it again.
Yeah, you can theoretically make 2 copies.
Seems like there's a lot of shenanigans that we could do with this guy, with maybe a diamond ruby deck, or maybe a sapphire ruby deck, or maybe even a tri-shard ruby deck. The only issue is that he's necrotic warlock. He's not a human, so that doesn't help out with the humans decks, but it seems pretty good. Anything else you want to add that I've missed?
Not particularly, but there is another good combo in those colors. So if you do get Duplicitous Duke and you can get the Flaring Passions, that also pairs really well with the Revert Champion, because you can steal their troop and then revert it so it doesn't give it back.
They bring up Walking Calamities, but that seems like that's just kind of reaching to get something like that to happen. I feel like that's a different deck.
That's their miracle. You played a 10/10 for 10 and had another resource available to shift this onto it.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. Moving on, we've got I guess the Rock League is going on, and they're basically now you're going to be able to actually add people to your friends list and do a best of 3, just straight up challenge them to a best of 3, which I think is going to make playing tournaments so much easier, so much better for everyone. We won't have to worry about timeouts because it's going to keep the timer between rounds when that happens. It's going to take care of reserves, so people won't be spending too much time, you know, siding in their reserve cards between rounds and that sort of thing. I think this is just a great, healthy thing for the community. So that this way, all you have to do is, you know, if you're spotting off against someone, you just add them to your friends list, and then as long as they add you, or I don't know if you both have to be friended, but basically, yeah, you do, because like whenever you add someone to your friends list, they get a request, don't they? So yeah, you have to friend each other, and then you can do the best of 3. I think it's going to be great. How stoked are you about this?
I don't know if it's staying or not, but even the Proving Grounds challenges were best of 3, so I was very happy about that, at least on the test server.
Oh, they were.
They might have only been testing it, but yeah.
Well, I think that there's still a place for best of 1, like with casuals. So hopefully, like they'll add like another area where it's like casuals, and then you can play best of 1, you know, or just play, you know, your single match type of.
I mean, if you want a best of 1 at Proving Grounds, you just play the first game and
then drop. I suppose that works. Moving on, they talk about the charity stream from last year, and this is just specifically the Hex Twitch channel is going to be doing a charity stream in basically 2 weekends. So not this weekend, but next weekend on July 9th, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time through July 8th. They're going to have all kinds of great interviews going on. A lot of the Hex main streamers, the people that are actually sponsored by Hex to stream, are going to be there streaming for them. And just for logging into the game, you're going to get 4 copies of Metal. And on that weekend, you'll also, I think that's actually is that the release weekend? 13th. No, that's not the release weekend though. That's the weekend after. That's a release weekend, right? Am I wrong? I feel like
14th is the release of the set, and the following weekend is
right.
The release.
So they're just basically allowing their Hex streamers to get more play by streaming set 3 before it comes out, which is what they did last time too. So not surprising, but I think it's going to be a great time. And again, you can get this great alternate art medal where you'll be able to have a full play set of those just for logging in. I think that's a great idea. And this isn't that bad. I could play maybe 2 of these and construct it, at least try them for that mono diamond deck, maybe.
If we ever get a 1/1 spell shield for 1, this could go with that deck.
Yeah, I could see that. Moving on, for all of the collectors out there, we've got this awesome alternate art for Periwinkle and Vampire Princess. We've talked about both of these on the show before, so I'm not going to go too far in depth. But basically, Vampire Princess is a 3-cost double blood threshold 2/3 with life drain and flight, and when it deals damage to your opponent, you get Vampire Kisses in your hand, which you can then cast on your opponent to like kill things, which is pretty awesome.
Well,
if they have a card in their hand, right? If they have a spell,
an action in their hand.
Yeah, an action. You can turn their actions into Vampire Kisses. Periwinkle's a 3-cost Ruby and Wild thresholds, just one of each of those. 1/2 troop, very weak body. When you play a card with 5 or greater, copy it. So very combo-tastic type of a card. I love the art on Periwinkle especially. This big, cloudy dragon in the background that she's casting, and seems pretty awesome.
It's a throwback to the Hex novel. Spoilers.
I still need to read through all the Accidental Night.
The flavor text is actually is from the novel.
Oh, was it? I can't even read it. A cry went up high and shrill from 100 shin hair throats. Jadim, Jadim. Interesting. Moving on, let's talk about some of these blood cards. We've got plenty of time to talk about these, so we should make it through all of these before we do our deck doctor tonight. So yeah, we'll just start off at the very top, and we will be skipping over some of the cards that we've already talked about on the show, so don't be surprised when that happens. Starting off, we've got Abominate, which is a 2-costed blood threshold basic action. As an additional cost to play this, sacrifice a troop. Target troop gets +3/+3 permanently, basically. And it's basic action speed, so I think it's pretty good. I would definitely play it in limited. It does make you 2 for 1, or actually possibly 3 for 1 yourself if your opponent removes in response to it. But with a lot of shin hair bodies, that's what they want you to be sacrificing as those 0-1s, using those guys as resources. I spent some time this past week trying to build a wild blood shin hair sacrifice deck, and it doesn't do that bad. So yeah, what do you think about this?
I think this is a great card, especially if you weren't getting enough use out of your Benoshi already. This is basically an upgrade to Benoshi for the stats it gives. And I think at the very minimum, it's going to see a lot of Rock League play.
Oh yeah.
For the Blood Wild Spell Shield deck is another way to just beef up the Spell Shield troop.
Oh yeah. Moving on, we've got Arachnophobia. It's a 3-costed double blood threshold. I think we may have talked about this, but we'll just bring it up real quick. Basic action, create 2 spiraling eggs for each opposing champion. Put them into their decks. Then each opposing champion chooses and discards 2 cards. So there's a chance that they could reveal one of those spiraling eggs, or both of them. The spiraling eggs themselves make 1/1 spider troops that are unblockable. And that's okay, I guess. And also they still get to draw the card, so they don't make your opponent miss card draws. It is what it is. I would play it in limited, but I probably wouldn't see too much constructed play out of this. I don't know. What do you think, Armies? You think
it's going to be fine for limited. It's also going to be great for multiplayer if you want to be that guy that gets on everyone's nerves. Since it's each opposing champion discards 2 cards. It's basically
That's true.
You use 1 card to get rid of 6. It's pretty good value for playing a 4-player game.
Speaking of which, we still haven't seen multiplayer, and I have seen some rumblings on the forums that people are talking about that being another thing they really want. Blasphemous Horror.
It'll happen.
Blasphemous Horror is a card that it gets created by another card, so we're really not going to go into it. It's basically a 6/6 crush troop, so it's kind of a vanilla troop. Moving on, we've got Bloat Cap. Bloat Cap is a 1/1, 2-costed, 1 blood threshold troop Shroomkin. When it dies, each opposing champion chooses and discards a card. I think this is a great card. It's definitely going to see play in your limited formats because it has a lot of value early in the game, where it can chump block and then make your opponent have to discard a card. Very similar to the 2/1 flyer, and I'm forgetting the name of it already.
Giant Corpse Fly.
Giant Corpse Fly, and its annoyingness. Yeah, I think it's going to see play in limited. I'm not sure if it's going to see too much play, more than a 2 of in a constructed deck. So yeah, thoughts?
Yeah, it also goes really well with Abominate. If your opponent doesn't have anything that you could trade this with, you could just sack it to make something else bigger while discarding a card from their hand.
Right. All right, moving on. We've got Blood Pit Reaver. It's a 6-cost, 2 blood threshold troop, Orc Warrior, 6/5, has Rage 2, so it's going to gain 2 attack every time it attacks. At the start of your turn, destroy each troop with the lowest power. So what that tells me is that, like, if there were 2 troops either on your opponent's side or 1 on your opponent's side, 1 on your side, if they had the same power and they're the lowest power, then he destroys both of them. He also would destroy himself in an open board state where he's the only troop on the board. So you do have to maybe play a deck that's playing, like, you know, expendable troops. So he kind of makes you want to play like those expendable Shinhair 0/1 troops, so you can keep them on the table. Seems okay. I don't know that I would really play him outside of limited. What do you think?
I wish they would have either made it at the end of your turn so you would get value out of it most likely, or that it said destroy each other troop with the lowest power so that he couldn't kill himself.
Yeah.
But I think it's alright for limited. It's not like the best card, but it has such a big body that in limited, just such a troop-based format, that he's probably going to be the last thing that he kills. So,
alright, so moving on, we've got the Blood-Soaked Brawler, who is a 2-cost blood threshold 0/2 troop, but he has Rage 1, so he'll get 1 attack the first time he attacks, and of course it'll get bigger and bigger every turn. It says this can't be blocked by troops with less power than this troop's power. So I think this guy is ridiculously amazing. He's going to be, you know, possibly a turn 1 through 3, or basically a pick 1 through 3 in limited, somewhere in there. And he's going to see play in constructed. Some people are at least going to try him out, especially because, you know, you turn 2 this guy, or if there's a way, probably if you play dwarves, I guess there's a way you could turn 1 this guy. But it's going to be very annoying to have to deal with him, because most of the time, as long as you play him on turn 2, it's going to be very difficult to block him.
it's pretty easy to block this guy without some sort of way to make him bigger, because at 1/2 on his first attack, he can be blocked by anything that doesn't have 0 attack.
Right, but the way the game is going, like, a lot of things aren't going to happen until, like, turn 3 a lot of times.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to get in.
I think it's a lot better if you're playing, like, Abominates and things where you can just beef him up really quick so that he just stays unblockable the whole game. But
yeah, I could see that, sure. Or you could give him Swift Strike. I mean, that would make it even more annoying.
Yeah, if you could give him enough attack that they can only put 1 troop in front of him, then that's great with Swift Strike.
Next, we've got Demon of Dusk, which is a 5-cost triple blood threshold flight troop. Is an Avatar of Despair, 6/6. Says at the start of each opposing champion's turn, create Celestial of Dawn for that champion and put it into their deck. And you kind of really need to look up what Celestial of Dawn is. So I have it right down here. Celestial of Dawn, oh, never mind, there it goes. Celestial of Dawn is a 7-cost 3-diamond troop that is 6/6, and it says prevent all damage that would be dealt to this by blood avatars. So it's immune to damage by what creates it, And then it says when you draw this, if opposing champion has a blood avatar in any zone, play this for free. So this seems really bad. I could not see myself playing Demon of Dust. It just seems way too risky, because they're going to get so many of these Celestial of Dawns in their deck. That's just really annoying. I guess it could kind of clog up a deck that doesn't run Diamond if you had a way to, you know, if this guy was getting killed later on or something, or as long as you got through enough damage, but it just doesn't seem worth it. The triple thresholds are really difficult to get to already, you know, for 5, even for 5 cost. I really don't see this guy being played. Maybe someone will try it in limited, but that seems even worse because they have less cards in their deck.
It seems fine for limited. I think that the idea is that you play this and kill them next turn, and they probably won't have drawn Celestial of Dawn the first time it happens.
Hopefully. Yeah, I mean, you actually have to transform the demon to mess up their deck.
Yeah, even if they kill it, it's still in a zone that you control, like, or whatever, so they would still get it for free.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like really risky. This seems very super risky.
Risky, and there's probably better 5 drops.
Oh yeah.
But for limited, you could easily just slam this and attack them, and they might just be dead.
Yeah, I mean the flight's nice. I mean, there's very few like cards outside of the vampires that have flight and blood right now. So yeah, and there's that whatever, the demons and the vampires basically. Okay, so let's see, there's that Demon of Dust. Let's move on. We got Devouring Doomspore, which is an 8 cost, triple blood threshold. Seems pretty bad already. It's a troop, it's a Shroom King. Let's see, the last Shroom King that we saw was the, what was it, the...
Light Cap?
No, I mean the last big one like this, Mushwaki. And this guy, I don't know if he beats Mushwaki or not, but let's look through it. He's a 6/6 basic action, while triple blood threshold, which you would have because you know you already paid it to get him in play. Well, this is in your hand. Sacrifice 3 troops. Play this for free. Okay, this has rage 1 for each troop in your graveyard. So this seems ridiculously better than Mushwaki. I could actually see myself trying to play this in some sort of the Shinhair sacrifice deck. I would try it. Sure, I would try it to see if I could get it to happen, or how often I could get it to happen. What do you think, Armies of Mordor?
Main thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have Crush.
Yeah, that's true. Just like the other Mushwaki. Yeah, that is definitely a problem with most of these. Okay.
It's legendary. It could have had Crush.
It could have. Yeah. Moving on, we've got Disciple of Yazukan. Yazukan's been pretty good lately. 2 blood threshold. It's a 1/1 Shinhair Warlock troop. It has flight and speed. When another troop enters your graveyard, if this is in your graveyard, add a soul counter to this. At the start of your turn, if there are 3 or more soul counters on this and is in your graveyard, put it into play and remove all the counters from it. Seems pretty awesome, especially with Extinction still being in blood. Seems pretty good. I mean, I would try this out in the Shinhair deck that I just built. I would try it out at least. We've seen that, you know, it's been very relevant for me to play the other Yazukan, the minion of Yazukan, that just keeps coming back. And on top of that, you play what's it called? The Ambusher. What is it called? I think it's just Ambusher. Yakuzashi, yeah, Yakuzashi Ambusher, who's also really relevant for Shinhair. They're probably some of the most powerful Shinhair cards there are. So yeah, I could see this guy fitting in right in with those guys. So armies, anything else to add to that, or?
I played a deck with this on the test server. It was kind of amusing, especially good if your opponent is playing mill, because it doesn't matter how the troops get into your graveyard. So if they're milling your deck, you might just, you know, have 4 of these come into play for free randomly, you know?
Right, or you might even play a self-mill deck where you'll mill yourself and then...
I don't think you would probably do that. You'd probably just play a sacrifice deck where you're just pumping up this or your minion of Yakuzan or some other troop that never really dies, so that when it comes back it's still bigger.
Yeah. Okay, so next one we've got is the Duskwing Reclaimer. It's a 5-cost, 1 blood threshold, 2/4 flyer, necrotic cleric. Man, I said there weren't that many flyers. We're getting a ton of flyers all of a sudden. Maybe they heard me or something. When this enters play, void target troop in an opposing graveyard. Choose and gain a threshold you don't have. So this is the first time I've seen gain a threshold outside of the shard, I guess, that blood has, but like one that just gains any threshold. I think this is going to be awesome with the comboed with the what's his name, the I'm forgetting a lot of stuff now. The 1/1 that brings back stuff if you have all 5.
Shepherd.
Yeah, with a Midnight Shepherd, I could see someone trying that. The 2/4 body for 5 is kind of and then also, you know, doesn't seem like it's going to be that great. We probably won't see too much constructed play with it, but someone might try it. I don't know. What do you? It's pretty good and limited though.
It's overcosted, and generally speaking, unless you're playing like the full 5 colors in Necrotic, by the time you get to 5, you'll probably have had most of your thresholds already.
I would hope so. All right, let's move on to the Egg Blight Afflictor, which is a 2-cost, 1 blood threshold, 2/1 troop venom rogue. It can't block. When it dies, create 4 spiderling eggs and for each opposing champion and put them into their decks. This seems like a great value card. Seems like an amazing value card.
It's almost a 2/1 unblockable.
It's ridiculous.
Like on the test server, no one ever wanted to block this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, because like you're just basically putting 4 spiderling eggs, which is like possibly like 4 more unblockables, or you know, if you need them, they can chump block for you. I think this is going to be, yeah, like a pick one common type of thing, type of situation in some situations. Yeah, I mean, would you say not so much, Armies, or like I'm saying, like if you had no good uncommons, no good rares, and you weren't rare drafting, what do you think?
It's totally playable if you want to be playing the Venom archetype. It's also another great card that you can sacrifice to things like Abominate. Your opponent, you know, you attack with it, your opponent doesn't block, they take 2 damage, make this 2, sack it to pump up your other dude. You know? And then they put 4 eggs in their deck. Good on defense. So.
Emperor's Lackey we've talked about before, so I'm not going to really touch on that again, but it is a 2-costed 1 blood threshold, 4/4 troop, Shinhair Warlock. It says at the start of your turn it gets -1 strength and power, and then you can sacrifice another troop and revert him back to normal. So, you know, we've talked about it before. Let's move on. Exarch of the Egg. This will probably be the last one we talk about before we move on to the Deck Doctor. It's a 2-cost, 1 blood threshold, Venom Warrior. It has lethal. When this or another Venom enters play under your control, create 2 spiderling eggs for each opposing champion and put them into their decks. So again, we're creating more of those 1/1 unblockables and put them into your opponent's deck. It does have the lethal keyword. It's pretty decent for that. I could see play with this. I would at least try it. It's definitely good and limited, but I'm you know, I would at least try it in constructed.
Yeah, this is going to be one of Blood's best threats against aggro. 1/3 is somewhat difficult. They only have Crackling Bolt to kill it, and it kills anything, even with a combat trick, unless they're using Ruby Aura or something to get Swift Strike. So it's pretty good against the aggro decks.
Ruby doesn't have another damage spell that's decent now? Another one?
3 for 2 resources. I mean,
right.
They have some like 5 resource.
Well, no, I don't count those. I count 3 and under resource Ruby spells. Yeah.
Nothing particularly effective against a 1/3 lethal, short of Ruby Aura or Adrenaline Rush type combat tricks.
Scorch, I guess they have Scorch, but that doesn't really do it.
Woo, 1 damage.
Not gonna work. All right, well. Go ahead and give me your opinions on your what you think about the blood cards that we went over, and then next week we will talk about some more stuff, some more of the blood cards from set 3. Okay, so I think we're ready to start building this deck. Let's go ahead and pump this up a little bit so people can actually see the cards. That's always nice. We want PvP cards, and we're going to go with Diamond, Ruby, Sapphire, and we can get some Shardless in there. So what should we do first that would be thematic for the 4th of July here, coming up tomorrow? I mean, I kind of want to throw cannon volleys in here. This actually was an all-star for me in the last draft that I played in. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, cannon volley, just 3 for 1s, 0 for 1 a lot, or 2 for 1s them most of the time. It's just so good.
Let's see, what could we put it? Where could we start with this type of a thing?
Well, if you wanted to play cannon volley, you'd probably want to play Scrap Tech Brawlers to have a way to.
Yeah, but cannon volley is probably much better for like wild ramp decks, you know. Oh, like here's Ember Tears. That's kind of like 4th of July-ish, you know. Got all kinds of explosions going on.
Well, you want to play the Death Draw deck, where your opponent takes damage every time they draw a card and takes damage at the start of every one of their turns.
Yeah, we can put that together if you've got if you kind of have a shell for it. Yeah, we can put that together. So does it use this Ember Tears?
Well, Ember Tears to each does 3 to them when it comes into play, and it does 1 to them every turn, and then there's one that does 1 damage to them whenever they draw a card.
The biggest problem I'm seeing is the 5 cost here, though. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have the ramp. Because we're not in wild, you know. I mean, I guess there is a little bit of ramp and some other. We can do some ramp other ways, but you know, I try to make things at least like somewhat plausible. What is this? Sandstone Rambler. Apparently it's just the back of a card. I don't even know what that is. Psionic Alkalite. I'm kind of at a loss of where we should start. Hey, what's going on, Silent Snake? What could we do? I see that Irish Batusi. Oh, there's an edit to Friday's update. I guess we can like look at this real quick. I can open this up. Although it doesn't look like it's gonna open for me. No, it didn't.
I can read it for you if you like.
Yeah, read it for me while I'm trying to figure out what direction we should go to make this 4th of July type of 4th of July deck. Here's another staggering blast.
The first thing that they said was that you needed to win 5 times instead of 4 for the gauntlet.
Oh boy.
The promo. Constructed tournaments also have the prizes, and the 2-man queue will not have prizes.
Okay. Well, duh. The 2-man queue that's free won't have prizes. Oh man. I'm seeing lots of explosive things in Ruby, so I'm thinking it's going to be mostly Ruby Shell right now. I did kind of want to play like something to pump up Royal Den Mother, but I don't know if that's going to be very 4th of July-y. You know, I did think about that.
We could do the
Ooh, Demolition. We could play a Demolition deck.
Ruby, Diamond, Sapphire pet deck or something. There's that new Houndmaster. It's 3 colors.
Yeah. This is actually probably going to see a lot of play, this Mind Pyre. Actually, yeah, so that plus Demolition seems pretty awesome, actually. So you talked about maybe doing a control deck, so maybe we'll do that. We'll play some sort of control deck where we bounce stuff and that sort of thing. Or we just bounce stuff. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll just do some sort of like bounce deck where we just control the whole game, and then our end game is basically having this stuff that just keeps dealing damage to them every turn in play. This Mind Pyre and like Demolition can help us make sure they can't even play the cards they're drawing. That could be kind of interesting. What do you think?
Be a very slow way to kill someone, especially if they have any way to gain life at all, but it could be an interesting way to win.
Yeah. Demolition hasn't seen a lot of play. I think they really wanted to stay away from resource destruction.
If it killed Threshold, it probably would have seen play. The fact that it doesn't is what made it not as good as...
That's true.
As the other game's resource destruction.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
But you never know. They might have a way to kill Thresholds in a future set.
In the future set, yeah, it's possible. Or just wipe them all out, or wipe out like one set of them. I think that if it was...
All players' resources are set to 0 and lose all resources.
Well, something like that would have to cost like 6 or 7.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fine. That's a deck.
Let's go ahead and like get our Countermagic set up here.
I mean, technically that would probably only cost 4 if it didn't kill anything except resources and thresholds. But since it's an effect that kills both players' resources, you wouldn't want to do it if your opponent has anything in play and you don't.
I'm trying to think of what else we could put in here. I have seen people start playing, is it Shoggoth? Shoggoth? No, where's the one there you can counter spells by putting them in your back in your deck? You discard, you put 2 cards in your deck plus that card.
Shoggoth.
Is it Shoggoth?
Yep.
Put 2 other cards and this from your hand in your deck. Interrupt target card. I'm not sure that we want to try to play that guy. I mean, I guess he does end the game.
I mean, if you wanted to play him, you'd probably be ending up with a Cerebral Fulmination resource destruction deck. Is that what we're going for?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, yeah, lots of card draw and stuff. I mean, we are playing control, so we want a lot of, you know, soft removal, hard removal. Oh, speaking of which, we definitely need Heatwave in here. That definitely needs to go in here. That's kind of like a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer control card. What else could we do? I mean, we could do the typical where you play Archmage Renlock and you just play a bunch of actions and stuff.
Arcane Focus goes in that deck so well.
Arcane Focus.
Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand, shuffle the other one away. For 1
I can't spell arcane.
It's a good card.
Oh, that's ridiculous. 2 cards. This is like the new control card. Put the remaining card. Duh. It's basic action speed, but that's fine. That's a great turn 1. Which, like, people have different schools of thought on that. Like, some people really hate it when you use that card turn 1 before like their opponent plays even a resource. But in this game, you have a lot of information game 1 by just looking at somebody's champion.
Yeah.
So you can more effectively play that turn 1 and know what you're digging for. But other people have felt like in game 1 with a game 1 situation, they don't like playing at turn 1 if their opponent hasn't even played a resource yet, because they don't know exactly what they should be digging for. You know, depending on the situation, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, in most cases, you might be happy to just take a resource even, so... Depends how many resources you're playing. If you want to cheat your resource count by playing efficient cards that replace themselves with selection, like Peak and Arcane Focus, you could probably play a little bit lighter on resources.
Probably want to play Mastery of Time in here. What do you think?
With Renlock? Probably.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't even put him in here yet. Are we going 2 Renlock or 3?
Probably 3. I mean, he's one of those cards that your opponent probably kills every time you play him, so you kind of want to have extra copies. Because if it sticks, you don't care if you have extra copies.
There's not a single diamond. We haven't put any diamond cards. There's no reason for us to be in diamond right now at all. And I don't know that we'll be able to find one. I don't know that we'll be able to find one, honestly.
There's some removal in diamond we could play.
Oh, I guess we could play...
Martyr. Martyr's a card.
Yeah, Martyr's pretty good. We also have Repel. Yeah, the nice thing is both of these are hard removal, where like it's not coming back. There's no bouncing involved. That's pretty nice with both of those.
I think Martyr's one of the best removals they've printed. Sure, it has a downside, but it also has the ability of if they kill your troop and you're playing a troop-heavy deck like mono diamond aggro, that you can just be like, okay, you repelled my troop. In response, I'll turn it into an anthem effect for my team.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of good value for those aggro decks, as well as being really good against control, who have very limited number of troops probably. So turning it into an anthem for them when they only play, 8 troops is whatever.
I guess we might as well throw in the Reese. We could throw in a Reese and a Zakir. Why not? Although if I do that, I might as well throw in Angels. But no, actually, I don't want Zakir. Reese is okay, but not Zakir.
Yeah, I wouldn't play triple threshold if we're playing 3-color.
Yeah, Zakir's pretty bad. Let's see, what kind of shards do we have that support this now with the set 3?
Zilch. There was nothing for humans, nothing for these 3 colors unless you're playing necrotic.
Oh wow. So that doesn't help things.
Yes.
As your face.
There's not necrotic that we wanted to play in this deck, then we could play the necrotic shard, but even that is only good for the first threshold of each color. Just have to play the duels and the basics and the Shards of Fate.
Yeah. Boulder toss. Trying to think of what else we could really play in here. I feel like I'm missing something. I know I need to get Burn in here. It's kind of a big deal.
Burn, Time Ripple, Countermagic.
We don't need Time Ripple. We've got our 2-point range covered for removal. I mean, the only thing that Time Ripple really does is it bounces like permanents. Huh?
I thought we were playing bounce control.
Well, I guess. I'm thinking about getting rid of Archmage Renlock, though. I think that our control is probably good enough without all that shenanigans. Or if I play him, maybe play 1 and get rid of Mastery of Time. Because I'm trying to whittle the deck down now. Mind Pyre, maybe play just three of those. Deal 1 damage. Yeah, Mind Pyre is probably a little bit too slow. Maybe.
Not a big fan of playing double diamond, and we're already playing double sapphire and double ruby cards as well.
Yeah, we should probably cut down on a lot of the double cards. So yeah, let's get. I think I'm getting rid of Archmage because it just doesn't feel like that's really what the deck is trying to do. I don't know. What do you think? As I get rid of it.
Edge, and if you keep your opponent stuck on resources with demolition with Armiesofmordor Renlock, you could probably just take the game with card advantage. But
yeah, with like Buccaneers and like 1 solid like end game card. This actually doesn't look that bad for like it's just like this crazy stupid removal deck now with like no end game.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you just wanted to play control deck, probably you don't play demolition. You probably play some control finisher card like Citadel of Adamant or.
Well, I would probably just go ahead and play what's his name? Reese.
Yeah, Reese would be fine.
Reese or Angel here. Yeah, it's pretty much like Reese Angel. Hey, not too bad, Lazarus. problem with Reese is he's just so expensive right now and Angels as well. They're
Yes,
both
let's just
expensive
up
cards.
the cost of
The
our
cost
deck
of the
by
deck, yeah.
$150.
Yeah, I know. That's the only thing. I don't think it gets that much better than what's already out there. Although it is thematic. We can take Repels down because they're conditional. We can take those down to 2. Martyr is like anytime. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you can martyr your opponent's troop with it. Yeah.
You can martyr your own worker bots with it. You can martyr. It's something they use murder on your Reese. You can just turn it into a monument or whatever. I like Martyr.
Martyr's pretty good. Maybe reduce our solitary exile because of the double threshold. Buccaneer, Countermagic. So this is looking just kind of more like just a basic control deck now. Still like that. Countermagic should be fine. It kind of looks like we need to just maybe pull Demolition.
Yeah, it looks like we just didn't go for that kind of deck.
Well, I mean, just, you know, some things are just not that great,
not good
you know.
enough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, this should be interesting to play. I don't know that it's better than, like, it's probably not better than Diamond Sapphire by itself. We do get access to Heatwave, which is kind of nice for the current meta with all the dwarf, you know, aggro decks running around.
And Vandalize in the new set is a good sideboard card.
Yeah, let's look at that real quick. Yeah, destroy target artifact. Yeah, just straight up.
Straight up. Instant or quick action speed. 1 resource. Doesn't get much more efficient than that.
Plus with this, it's I don't know if I want to run 23 or 24 shards, but you could run 23 and be fine because like most of the stuff is casting for 2, you know. Like our expensive cards are Countermagic and Buccaneer. Those are our expensive cards, and 1 Solitary Exile. The Angel of Dawn, like, yeah, you may draw it in your opening hand. That may be a little bit clunky for you.
Yeah, you'll get to 5 eventually.
The Arcane Focus with the Angel of Dawn seems kind of bad. I don't know. I think this is as close as I can get to like a good red, white, and blue type of a deck. Lots of Sapphire. What kind of changes would you make, Armies, to what we've got here?
Probably just, let's see, maybe a couple Dreamers and take out the Exile, but I just don't like the double diamond. I think just having single diamond cards would help the resource space a lot more.
So you're playing like maybe you play 2 Dreamers.
Yeah.
And then pull out the Solitary Exile, or just move it to the reserves rather.
Yeah, maybe.
So we'll do that. Maybe pull a Verdict, or...
Yeah, I think 2 Verdicts main is fine. Like, I don't think we need to play 4/4 in the first game.
No, I don't think so either. Especially because we don't have a lot to really protect anyways. So I think that's fine for 24 shards. We can do that, and then of course you're going to make your Eldritch Dreamer have the card draw. So Major Sapphire of the Mind for the card draw. So we just kind of, I mean, we did play. Well, no, how many set 3 cards are we playing? Martyr and Arcane Focus.
Well, I mean, there are probably other cards that could go in this deck. Let me browse real quick.
We got about 10 minutes. I mean, we can take a look at some things.
Like, if you wanted another control finisher, Army of Myth could be played in this color combination. Augur Syrian, but
doesn't that Army of Myth only look for, what does it look for? It looks for troops, doesn't it?
It creates legendary troops.
Oh, it just creates legendary?
It just creates random legendary troops.
That could be interesting, I guess, but Thing is, like, I always think that when it's a card like that that's going to create random legendary troops, I always feel like it's going to just create, like, some sort of, like, bad one that I don't want. Forgotten Monarch could be interesting.
Yeah, Forgotten Monarch's pretty good in 3-color.
I still, like, I think, like, the mono diamond deck with Forgotten Monarch, or, well, I guess it would be, let's see, how do you give him Swift Strike in diamond, right? Is that right?
When I was playing it in the last Mom Cards tournament, I was playing mono diamond splashing Sapphire to give it flight, so I had evasion for the Anthem gem, but...
Right. I was trying, yeah, so the Anthem gem plus Swift Strike I like because on the attack, if he does his Swift Strike damage first, buffs your entire field, and then they do more damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's good, but you're not guaranteed to get through in a 2-2 most of the time.
No,
you're not.
That's why
I gave it evasion. I just made it so it could fly. And it works pretty well for me.
What do you think about this guy, Houndmaster? That guy's pretty awesome.
Summoner is another option for this deck as a resource sink late game, but it's basic, so you can't really hold up your counters. Living Totem is always an option.
Oh yeah, Living Totem. What do you think about the Houndmaster? Maybe as a one-of.
I think he's neat for limited, but I think he's a bit expensive when you could just be playing Royal Falconer.
Yeah, Royal Falconer is a card that's one of those, like, there's so many things like on the rotation that are gonna really force people to think when they won't have access to them anymore. You know, Royal Falconer is one of those cards. It's gonna be like, well, what do I do?
One drop for this deck to be better suited against aggro. Thunderfield Seer isn't the worst card. That's the 1/1 for 1 that Prophecy, the next action in your deck gets draw a card.
Ooh, actually that sounds pretty awesome. What's his name?
Thunderfield Seer. Thunderfield, one word.
That's pretty awesome. That I might actually play over the other card, because that I could actually get angels with. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas I can't really get angels with Arcane Focus. So swapping this guy for Arcane Focus, I think, may be a pretty good thing, you know?
Yeah, if you want to change all of your removal to instant speed things, you can do during your opponent's turn. But right now, we're also playing Heatwave, which is sorcery.
I think you have to keep Heatwave, but a lot of the other stuff is quick action.
Yeah, just...
Everything else is quick action.
If you do get the effect on Heatwave, then you won't be able to get an angel off of it. But everything else, yeah, you could theoretically get an angel off of drawing.
Yeah, on your opponent's turn. Let's see what else is there. This Elder. Centers play the next action you gets when you play this, copy it. So it's okay. I like the explosions though. That's very 4th of July-y. Centers play the next troop in your deck gets Spell Shield. Yeah. So probably that the Elder is okay. Like, I think if you're gonna play this Elder, you're gonna play like lots of explosions go boom type of deck. So you might play like all these Ruby actions, and then doubling those Ruby actions would be pretty sick.
You could also play it in the Wild Sapphire deck, where once you get your copied action and you use it, you can shuffle it back into your deck with the new champion power.
Right.
So
actually, like, both of these guys seem pretty awesome with the escalation cards, you know? Because, like, you'll shuffle them back in. This guy could make it so it draws a card every time you play it. This guy can make a copy of it, so now it's doing, like, its escalation. It's escalating right away.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. I really like the chance. Yeah, that'll probably be next week's deck. We need to do Coyotal escalation deck with these guys. But this week we're doing a thematic Tri-Shard deck.
Thunderfield Seer, Thunderfield Elder, Crash of Beasts.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like, I mean, the other one may be better though. The Ragefire may be better, just because it gives you a little bit more versatility.
Thinking Crash of Beasts because there's Coyote and Wild as well. But there isn't any in Ruby.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So I think this is the deck this week. It's probably going to be okay. It's going to have some trouble, of course, with the shards. Let's look at what kind of shards we can put in here. That's kind of... I thought there was a Coyotal shard, at least. We could.
There is a Coyotal shard, but do we have enough Coyotal to actually play it? And it would only give Sapphire Diamond for this deck.
Yeah. See, that could kind of shape your deck choices in the future now, too.
Yeah.
Coyotals and things. Although we could play Royal Heralds in here.
You could play Royal Herald. You could play up one of Lixil. There are ways to get the fixing that we need, for sure.
I did have a deck where I actually played Queensguard plus Royal Herald, and I played a bunch of the Diamond stuff, and I just kind of touched on the other things just to get the activations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably play the typical shards that you already have, but let's see. Fellroot Acorn doesn't do it for us. I wish it would just show... I wish there was a way to just show shards. Okay. That's probably not worth it, because this goes into wild. Yeah, I don't think that's worth it. Not for the control deck we built. So we'll probably just go with the typical Shard of Innovation, Shard of Conquest, Shard of Purpose, and then we need to figure out the breakdown and everything else. I'm not sure that we want Shards of Fate in here.
It depends how much we care about charges for our champion power. Like,
before the night started, I was thinking about trying to do some sort of War Prodigy deck, but it just seems like it's just so much work to get War Prodigy online. Where he's actually giving everything +2/+2.
Yeah, there's that necrotic version of War Prodigy now too.
Is there?
Yeah, you just passed it. It's right there. Prodigy of something or other. It's it requires one of every threshold to give all.
What champion are we gonna run with this type of a deck?
Yeah, that was what I was alluding to. Like, depending on how much we care about our
threshold,
our charges, we could play Shards of Fate or not, depending. We probably play Bertram to help against aggro, and because we're playing Reese.
Man, we're playing Reese, yeah. Trying to find. There's the Sapphire Shard. What was that other guy's name? You were saying that I missed, completely missed.
Oh, the Prodigy of Volosolov.
Prodigy of... Okay.
These palindromes, man. How do you pronounce these things?
I think I just typed it in at the top here. I must be missing it. Prod.
I was just mentioning, it's not for this deck.
Oh, not for this deck. Yeah, that's a different deck altogether. That seems worse. That seems...
It's a little worse, but except for the fact that Necrotic are already doing 5 shards, like that's their thing.
Yeah, but Diamond's already doing 3 shards, so... That's... Yeah, I think that's strictly worse. We're at 60 cards right now, but we need to like figure out our cards in the deck. Also, we need to figure out what champion we're going to play. We haven't done that. And we are about 2 minutes out, so we have plenty of time to pick a champion here.
My vote is Bertram, but there's probably other choices.
Yeah, Bertram's probably the best one, just because, again, like you said, everybody knows Reese the Crustcrawler's making random dudes, so you just save your worker bots. Or early in the game, if you have to deal with a lot of aggro stuff, then you play Bertram, and I'm sorry, you use your Bertram power just to set up some blockers.
Yep.
So let's see, what have we got the most of? Sapphire, and then after that Ruby, and then Diamond. That's another good thing because Bertram is Sapphire. So we probably don't use Shard of Conquest, I would say, right? Just don't use that one at all. And then just use Shard of Purpose, Shard of Innovation, and then buff up our Sapphire Shards.
Are we playing Shards of Fate or no?
No, I'm not. let's see, where are we at? 58. So most of our ruby cards are single threshold, so I went ahead and took ruby shards down to 3. So we've got
all of our diamond and ruby cards are single threshold.
Right,
So
but we have more diamond, and we
double.
kind of want to get the diamond in early for the angel.
Yep.
So I went ahead and buffed diamond up to 5, so we've got 9 shots at a diamond shard, and then ruby we've got 7 shots at that, and then sapphire we've got...
Yeah, that's kind of low. Like generally, if you want to have your resource like pretty consistently on turn 1, you need to play like 12. So it seems like we need to at least 3 Shards of Fate for consistency's sake.
Would you rather play Shards of Fate, or would you rather play what's it called?
Shard of Conquest.
The Shard of Conquest.
You could play either one, but I think Shards of Fate is
probably optimal here.
More consistent. Sure, you might not get your second worker bot or your first worker bot on turn 3 if you really need it desperately, but you, in the long run, will be able to get your diamond on 1 and your sapphires for your turn 3 counter magic if you need it a lot more consistently.
Well, see, you got that alarm fixed. That was good.
I didn't do anything about it. As far as I know, it's still broken, or maybe it finally ran out of battery power or something.
It's the safest man I know. Probably 1 less ruby shard. Probably like that. So like 6 sapphire, 5 diamond, 2 ruby, and then we've got shard of purpose, shards of fate, and shard of innovation. So
that seems better.
See, we've got 10, 14 sapphire shards in the deck. We've got ruby shards. We've got 2, 6, 7, 8, 9 ruby shards, and then diamond shards. We've got 3, 7, another 5, and make that 12. So
I think that's a lot better.
Yeah, that should work pretty well. We didn't put together reserves for this, but you know, this deck isn't super serious right now. I don't know if there's really a better way to go about this. It feels like to me like this is, you know, we're doing this mostly because of the 4th of July is tomorrow, but it feels like for the most part the ruby could just come out and you could just go sapphire, diamond if you wanted to be competitive. But you know, a thematic deck for people that maybe want to play in the holidays. If you don't have Reese the Crustcrawler or Angel of Dawn or Eldritch Dreamer for that matter, what could you play? You probably wouldn't play Bertram anymore. You'd probably play something else as well. What could you play, Armies?
Okay, there's Forgotten Monarch. That's a much cheaper version of Dreamer. It's not really unblockable, but you can give it flight and the card draw gem, so that would be a
yeah, this guy's
option.
Not too bad. Yeah, you could always play that guy.
There's not really that what I would call like a substitute for Angel. You could play Living Totem. It's
Totem if you have
threat,
Totem,
but it's not. It's no free Angel on turn.
You could play
2.
Shoggoth. We talked about Shoggoth, but you'd want to play more card draw.
I wouldn't want to play Shoggoth in a 3-color deck.
Yeah, it's probably not that good. But yeah, there's some other options that are out there. So like if you don't have those, the main core of the deck is basically a lot of removal anyways. So, you know, try it out. Let me know what you think. So we'll do the recap of the episode, then do the giving away of a draft. I really appreciate everyone for stopping by. I know that it is 4th of July weekend. Everyone's spending time with their families. Tonight on Decking with the Squire, we talked about a couple of things. We talked about the Reddit shutdown, which will probably be over pretty soon. The server maintenance that was happened this past week, and my personal thoughts on how that's moving them closer to being more of a stable game. The release celebration, which is coming up next weekend, not this weekend. So make sure to get out to that so you can claim your play set of alternate art cards. The Independence Day deck that we just built, which, you know, stands by itself because it's independent. And yeah, that's pretty much it for tonight. So until next time, this is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless your families. Try not to race too much out there, and Armies of Mordor saying...
Signing off.